Once upon a time, in a small village called Amuadu, there lived a barber named Chijiok. Chijiok was a kind man who had a small barbershop by the side of the road. He would always smile and greet everyone, making sure his customers felt comfortable as they sat in his chair. He was very popular because his haircuts were the best in the village. But Chijiok had a secret. While he appeared kind and friendly on the outside, deep inside, he wanted more than just money from his customers. He wanted power. He heard stories about a ritualist from a distant land, a man named Afani, who could make someone rich and powerful if they gave him something special, something very important from another person. One day, a customer named Obi came to Chijiok's shop. Obi was a strong man with thick, dark hair that shone in the sunlight. He was always smiling, always joking, and loved visiting Chijiok for a good haircut. He sat down in Chijiok's chair, ready for his usual trim. Chijiok smiled and began to work on Obi's hair, his razor blade cutting through the strands quickly. As he worked, his eyes glimmered with greed. This time, Chijiok had a plan. He carefully collected the hair that fell from Obi's head and hid it under the table. Obi was too busy chatting with a friend outside the window to notice. When Chijiok finished the haircut, Obi paid him and left, smiling as he always did. That night, Chijiok sneaked out with the bundle of hair and went deep into the forest to meet Afani, the ritualist. The moon was full, casting shadows that made the trees look like ghosts. Chijiok's heart raced. When he reached Afani's dark hut, the ritualist was waiting for him. "You have brought me what I asked for, I see," Afani said, his voice cold and sharp. "This hair will give me the power I need." Chijiok handed over the bundle with trembling hands. "Will I become rich and powerful now?" he asked eagerly. Afani nodded slowly. "Yes, but there is a price. You must never tell anyone what you did. If you break this promise, the curse will fall upon you." Chijiok didn't care. He was hungry for power. He left the ritualist's hut, his heart filled with excitement and greed. But as Chijiok walked back to his village, something strange began to happen. The wind started to howl loudly, even though the sky was clear. The trees shook as if they were alive. A cold chill ran down Chijiok's spine, and he felt like something was following him. He arrived home, he tried to sleep, but he couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Obi's smiling face. The next morning, Chijiok went to open his barbershop, but the door wouldn't open. The locks were stuck. When he finally got inside, he was shocked. The shop was filled with shadows, and the mirrors on the wall were cracked. Something was wrong. He picked up his razor blade, but the moment his hand touched it, he heard a voice. "You took what was not yours, Chijiok," it whispered. The voice grew louder. "You betrayed Obi, and now the curse will follow you forever." Suddenly, Obi appeared in the doorway. But something was different about him. His smile was gone, and his eyes were filled with sadness and anger. "You took my hair, Chijiok. You betrayed me," Obi said, his voice filled with hurt. Chijiok fell to his knees, begging for forgiveness. "I didn't mean to, Obi. I just wanted to be powerful." Obi shook his head. "The power you seek comes with great cost, Chijiok. The curse has already begun. You will feel the pain of your betrayal every day, just like the hair you stole from me." The shadows in the shop grew darker, and Chijiok felt his heart become heavy with regret. He had taken something precious from his friend, and now he could never escape the consequences. The village people soon noticed that Chijiok's once cheerful face was now always sad. His barbershop was never busy, and his razor blade grew dull with time. He was never able to cut another person's hair again. His dreams of power turned into... After Obi left the barbershop, Chijiok was left alone in the darkness, feeling a strange weight on his heart. The curse had begun, and Chijiok knew deep inside that there was no turning back. He couldn't stop thinking about Obi's sad eyes and the strange, haunting whispers he had heard that night. Days passed, and everything in the village seemed to change. The once lively town of Amuadu grew quieter. People began to avoid Chijioke, whispering behind his back. They had heard the stories about what happened when you betrayed a friend or took something that didn't belong to you. They feared the curse would spread to them if they came too close. Chijioke became more and more lonely. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and couldn't shake the feeling that something was always watching him. At night, the shadows in his home moved on their own, and strange noises filled the air. Sometimes, he could hear footsteps behind him, but when he turned around, no one was there. One evening, while walking through the village, Chijioke saw a young girl named Adise running toward him. Adise had always been sweet and kind, and she loved to visit his barbershop. But now, as she approached him, her eyes were filled with fear. Chijioke whispered, glancing around nervously, I've heard the stories about you. My grandmother says you've done something terrible. Please, tell me it's not true. Chijioke lowered his head, unable to meet her eyes. It's true, Adise. I did something wrong. I took something that wasn't mine, and now I can't fix it. Adise stepped back, her fear growing. What do you mean, Chijioke? What happened? Before he could answer, a cold wind suddenly blew through the village. The sky turned dark, and the ground beneath their feet began to shake. Adise screamed as shadows appeared out of nowhere, swirling around them like storm clouds. This is the curse, Chijioke whispered. This is what happens when you betray someone you care about. The spirits are angry. Suddenly, from the darkness, the figure of Obi appeared. But this time, his face was twisted in pain and sorrow, his eyes glowing bright with a strange light. You cannot run from what you have done, Chijioke, Obi said, his voice deep and echoing in the air. The curse is spreading, and it will follow you until you make things right. Chijioke's heart sank. He wanted to fix things, but he didn't know how. The pain of his betrayal was eating away at him, and the curse seemed to grow stronger every day. He didn't know how to undo what he had done. But just as all hope seemed lost, an old woman appeared in the village square. She was hunched over with age, her long white hair flowing behind her like a silver river. She walked toward Chijioke with steady steps, her eyes shining with wisdom. You are the one who took the hair, yes? The old woman asked, her voice calm yet powerful. Chijioke nodded, his voice shaking. Yes, I took Obi's hair to give it to the ritualist, to gain power. The old woman sighed deeply. Power gained from betrayal is not true power. It only leads to darkness. But there is a way to break the curse. You must go to the river of the ancestors, deep in the forest, and throw the hair into the water. The river holds the power to cleanse the wrongs of the past. Chijioke looked at the old woman in shock. The river of the ancestors, but the journey is dangerous. Many have never returned. The old woman nodded. The path is dangerous, yes, but you must face it. Only by making things right can you free yourself from the curse. Without waiting for a response, the old woman disappeared into the mist, leaving Chijioke with his decision. He knew what he had to do. He had to return the hair, no matter the cost. The next morning, with a heavy heart and fear in his chest, Chijioke set out into the forest. The trees loomed high above him, their branches twisting like the arms of giants. Strange sounds filled the air, and shadows seemed to follow him every step of the way. As he walked deeper into the forest, Chijioke could feel the curse growing stronger. His hands trembled, and his feet felt as if they were stuck in mud. The wind howled, and he heard whispers calling his name from all directions. The darkness seemed to close in on him, but he pushed forward, determined to fix his mistake. Finally, after hours of walking, Chijioke reached the river of the ancestors. The water sparkled under the light of the moon, and the air was thick with ancient magic. Chijioke knelt by the river, holding the bundle of hair tightly in his hands. His heart pounded in his chest as he slowly released the hair into the water. The moment the hair touched the river, the water began to glow with a soft, golden light. The wind stopped, and the air became still. Chijioke felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. Suddenly, Obi appeared before him, smiling with a look of forgiveness in his eyes. "You have done it, Chijioke," Obi said softly. "The curse is lifted. You have made things right." Chijioke's heart swelled with relief. "Thank you, Obi. I am so sorry for what I did." Obi nodded. "Remember, true power comes from kindness and honesty, not from stealing or hurting others." With those final words, Obi disappeared into the light, and Chijioke found himself standing alone by the river. The curse had been lifted, and the darkness had faded away. Chijioke felt lighter, freer, and ready to begin again. From that day on, Chijioke never again sought power through deceit. He became the best barber in the village once more, but this time, he was known for his kindness, honesty, and the lesson he had learned: betrayal never leads to true power. And so, the village of Amuadu returned to its peaceful ways, and Chijioke, the barber, became a symbol of redemption, teaching everyone that the path to true strength is through honesty, love, and respect for others.